Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Walker tied him out.
You know where you're at, the USA Cup. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act, or you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. DC, the home of Chuck Brown. Oh, you don't know the sound? Well, let me break it down.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nazi with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. I got my guy Abdullah on here as well, and today we have a very special episode. A returning friend of the channel, and Logan Paulsen is joining us. He is a former NFL veteran tight end, Commanders team analyst, and now sideline reporter for the Commanders preseason broadcast team. Logan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Good to see you guys. It's been a while.
For sure.
Logan, kicking it off, what were your general thoughts on how the team performed in their first preseason game against the Carolina Panthers?
General thoughts. I think let's start on offense. I think I actually wasn't that disappointed. I know a lot of people were like frustrated with the offense, but I think, I liked what they were doing. I liked the process. I liked that Scott Turner was a little bit more aggressive on first and second down. I think there was a lot of good things to be excited about, quite frankly. Armani Rogers came out and did an excellent job. Curtis Hodges did a nice job. Carson Wentz's throw to Terry McLaurin, from the left hash to the right numbers was very impressive. Terry's finish on that was just such a Terry play, so fantastic. Brian Robinson looked great. I think the group that probably needs the biggest shout out is the offensive line. I thought they did a great job protecting Carson and then moving people. I think that's the first time we've seen that iteration of that group together. And it's been, like with live bullets. And so they did a good job. Norwell did a nice job. Specifically, I thought, a kind of an unknown commodity. Wes Schweitzer, the other right guard, did a nice job in terms of being physical and pass protections and powers and all that kind of stuff. So love to see that. I think the one blemish of the day was two blemishes. I'm going to say one mild blemish was the two missed throws, one to Armani Rogers and then one to Terry on the double move. And again, those aren't necessarily bad misses. I think Armani could have helped him out a little bit. I think Carson could have helped him out. But those are things that you kind of expect to see in the preseason. So nothing to be upset about either way. I think the big issue, obviously, is the fumble by Gibson. And, a guy that I really like. I've talked to him, good guy, good football player, good athlete. But unfortunately, there's just no other way to cut it. Like, he's not going to play if he's putting the football on the ground. And so I'd like to see that get corrected. I'd like to see him get more touches. I hope the team doesn't totally cut bait with him after that. But it would be understandable if they did not cut bait, but like kind of shift his role and usage moving forward in the preseason, especially with all the praise and all the production that Brian Robinson has had, not only in the game, but in training camp as well. So,
and perfect segue, because we wanted to also ask you about the backfield right now for the Commanders. Brian Robinson was one of my favorite picks from the draft when we reviewed it a couple months ago. But do you believe at this point, especially with the news on this day that we're recording, Tuesday, about how Antonio Gibson is getting some second team, third team reps as well, do you believe that the offensive backfield now is Brian Robinson's to lose?
So I think, I actually talked to the guy who put that tweet out today. And I think the one thing about practice you always need to be aware of when you're watching practice is there's a constant rotation and flow. So what I mean by that is, like, Terry took some reps with the twos today. And it's not because Terry is a two player, obviously. It's because in the script the practice script, there's 4 plays for the ones, 4 plays for the twos, usually 2 or 3 plays for the threes. You're on to the next period, right? And oftentimes a coach says, I really want Terry to get this route, but it's scripted with the twos. So I'm going to put him in there so he gets a look, right? So I think on the whole, Gibson still kind of retained that one spot. He did get some reps with the threes in certain situations, but so did Brian Robinson, so did McKissick, so did Jonathan Williams. So I don't think that's necessarily indicative of any type of change. I do think something that happened in practice today that is maybe more indicative of that is Gibson getting some reps on special teams, on the punt team. I think that kind of signals a potential shift, right? I think, I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this, but I was a big believer that Robinson was going to get a lot of touches anyway, to kind of spell Gibson. He's a very natural runner. He's a guy that allows you to stay on schedule offensively. And I think these types of mistakes by Gibson just kind of enforce that. So I do think Gibson might remain the starter for a couple of weeks. But either way, Robinson's going to get a lot of touches.
So what do you think the problem areas are on this roster? And do you think Coach Ron Rivera makes any additions?
Problem areas on the roster, because we've been talking about the offense. Let's stick with offense. I don't really see any problems necessarily. I think right now the one thing that's slightly concerning, I would say, is the health at tight end. I think that's something that is a little bit of an issue. Again, I've talked about this a lot of different places, but not with you guys yet. I think that's one of the more talented groups on the team. So obviously Logan Thomas is out with the ACL. Bates has been out for an extended period of time with the calf. Cole Turner, when he was healthy, looked really, really solid. Probably the second most productive offensive player behind Jahan Dotson in terms of just catches and targets and making kind of splash plays. And then Armani Rogers and Curtis Hodges have looked like starting caliber players. And to have that at your fourth and fifth spots is a pretty special thing. But the rest of that group is hurt. So again, those are something to keep an eye on, like what they're going to do there moving into the season. Obviously, Semis Reyes goes on IR today. And so kind of showing the staff showing you how they feel about that. That's one concern. Left tackle depth, or left and right tackle depth, was a concern. Obviously, Lucas came back 2 days ago, so that looked better today. That looked more consistent. Willie Beavers, a guy who's kind of been a journeyman around the NFL, had a very solid game. So maybe he squeaks in, some magic on the roster there. But I think offensively, you feel pretty good about it. I think the biggest question mark is not necessarily personnel, but it's how Carson Wentz performs in 2022, right? It's not a personnel thing. It's a play thing. It's a mentality thing. And even Carson, like when you watch him, he's got all the physical tools you want. It's just more the consistency of the footwork, consistency of the play that makes you go, where's this team? How's this offense actually going to be executed in the season? So that on offense, that's a big question mark. And then I think on defense, if you want to segue into that, I think the thing that sticks out to me is linebacker depth. I think you've got some nice people there. I think Jamin looks to be rounding a corner here in terms of becoming
a good day.
Good day today. Good game on Saturday. Something's happening there. Now, again, he's had a good training camp. He's had a good OTA period. So all signs are pointing that direction, but he's got to do it consistently. And I think we all would agree that needs to happen. But that's a good sign. Cole's looked good. Little slow start to the game, but I thought kind of rounded it out nicely. Mayo did a nice job with the run fits and getting the defense called. Had a couple issues in coverage, but nothing that I don't think can be corrected. Khaleke Hudson was a little quiet again, and if he's your fourth guy, you'd like him to play a little bit better than that. And then that fifth spot is really up for grabs right now between Milo, who had that big hit, and I think had a generally solid performance, but not like a wow performance. Harris, who was a little bit quieter. Harris, and then Jerry, the new guy they just signed in from Philadelphia, had a nice performance, and I think might be making an argument for making the team here because of all the things he does that, in terms of playing special teams and all those kind of things. So that to me is a big issue. And then the sixth corner spot is something that I'm keeping an eye on too. But outside of that, I think you feel pretty good. Like Casey Tuhill, James Smith-Williams have done a great job at defensive end. So to me, not a lot of issues. It's just more of a depth, and can the groups play consistently? And those questions can only be answered in the game. The depth issue can't, because you can see that now, but the consistency issue is a game time issue.
That's fair. And to go back to the offense, actually, obviously we all love Terry McLaurin and stuff, right? But in terms of the receiving trio, the top three guys that we have right now in Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Jahan Dotson, we were just wondering, like, how good do you believe the trio can be? And also, back to Terry, do you believe that he getting snubbed for the NFL top 100 players list was, as big of a problem as many fans out there are thinking?
Both excellent questions. Let's start with their trio. I think that the trio is very good. I think they haven't done anything yet as a trio. Terry's been far and away the most productive element of that group. Jahan's obviously a rookie, and despite how good he's looked in camp, he has to do it in the season. Curtis Samuel's been hurt for a year. So again, despite what he's showing and the progression and the healing that he's shown and the explosiveness that he's shown, he has to do it on the field. So I think they can be very good. I think they have to show me that they can do it. They show me they can gel, show me that they have the chemistry with Carson. And that's something I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on in the preseason game coming up this week. And then with regards to Terry being snubbed, I don't know if it's a big deal, obviously, because Terry's a good player and he's a good player for this fan base. I think it might show kind of how he sits from a national perspective in terms of how fans and teams and players perceive him. And, I've had conversations with other coaches and players around the league, and they think he's a good player. He's a good football player. You want him on your team. But there are limitations to his game, and maybe that's kind of being reflected in that list. Terry's my kind of football player, physical, tough, smart, but maybe not quite in that upper pantheon of receiver the way fans in the DMV think.
Yeah, I just think part of the concern was that Kyle Juszczyk, OBJ, like guys like those were being ranked, and even Mac Jones were being ranked above Terry on the top 100 list.
So important thing to note here. I've voted for a top 100 list before, and it is the biggest joke of all time. It's basically
heard it here first.
Yeah. So basically, it's a cool thing. I love seeing the graphics. They do a great job. Like, I watch it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I love learning about other players. I love hearing players talk about other players. The problem with it is like they do it week 10 of the season. So I don't care about anything except the week game that the games week upcoming that week. And so when they're like, come vote, I'm like going through the list. I deleted. I was the older guy in the room, like in Atlanta and Houston. And I'm like, all right, who do you guys want to vote for? And people are like, oh, like Aaron Donald's doing good. Oh, let's put him on the list. Tom Brady. Yeah. And then you're just kind of going off the top of your head. You're not like looking at stats. You're not looking at data. You're not looking at film. It's just kind of like, oh, SportsCenter talked about this guy in the cafeteria. Like, he must be having a good year. Let's put him down. So again, like I think the media, the national media attention drives that list probably more than anything. And unfortunately, this team has not been a national media darling for a variety of reasons. So Terry's not going to be getting a lot of love either way. So I think that's a huge thing for fans to understand. It's not like this really, like I went and studied the top 100 guys and was like, oh, this is the guy. It's like Jamar Chase just went for 200 against Baltimore, like top 100. You know what I mean? So I think that's OBJ is a name that people recognize and they know, and like guys are familiar with him. So that's a big driver for that list and for the Pro Bowl, quite frankly.
Yeah. Exhibit A, Trent Williams was lowly ranked. He was on the top 100, but he was lowly ranked when he was here in DC, right? And then this year he's probably going to be ranked top 5, top 10. Just the way
he also like, we're off track here a little bit, but that's what happens when you go to a Kyle Shanahan system where they scheme up good blocks for you. They run a successful football team. You put your guys in better situations to be successful, and he showed out, and he deserves to be maybe even number one. You know what I mean? Like that's how good of a year he had. And I think it just speaks to A, how situation and coaching can impact you, and then B, how the national media narrative can drive, because all anyone's been talking about how he's the highest PFF graded player of all time now. And of course, guys hear that and they say, oh, we must have had a good year. So, you know what I mean? It's tough to make those distinctions.
Yeah, I really miss Trent Williams here. But anyway, talk about Commander. Where do you rank them?
So sad right there.
Yeah.
No, dude, it's
back.
Yeah. But where do you rank the Commanders in the NFC East, and do you have a record prediction for them coming into the season?
Ranks. I mean, anything I say right now is going to be completely wrong. So way to back me into a corner here, totally undefended. I'm going to say that I think they're probably on the same level as Dallas right now. It's like 2A, 2B. The team I think is going to win the division is Philly at the moment. Not that Washington can't make a push. I'm not saying that, but if today was the day you had to play a game, I had to put my money on somebody, it would be Philly. And I think New York obviously looks like, again, I think they've made good coaching decisions. They've made good coaching hires. They've made good personnel moves, but that roster was in pretty bad shape last year. And it's a couple years away from being like in it. I'm not saying they can't get there, but I would not put my money on them, let's just say. So in terms of record prediction, I feel good about saying 10, and that's probably an optimistic thing because, again, you've got teams like Philly, you got to play twice, and I'm assuming they're going to split if I say 10, right, at some point, which I think is doable. I think they played that team really close. I think this team's gotten better. I think Philly's gotten considerably better. So, again, do they win? Do they split that? Do they beat Tennessee? They've got a tough stretch of games scheduling-wise. I think it's between it's like 3 to 10 or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's pretty dicey. So how does that come out? Do you come out winning 6 games? Because then you're feeling really good about those 10. If not, maybe this team's different than what I thought. So I'm going to say 10 just as like an optimistic prediction, but it could easily be 7. And, it could go as high as 12 if things fall their way. But, I don't think that's going to happen either. How about you guys? What do you think?
Yes. Bill, you want to go first?
So my optimistic self, unlike the guy to the left, I think it's 10-7. Sadly, we won't hit the 11 mark, but I really think with the schedule lined up and how he performed last year, aside from injuries and COVID, if everything comes into play, Carson's healthy, this offense gets it going, this defense gets back, Jack Del Rio turns it around, Chase Young comes back. I think 10 wins is it can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be nice to win 11 games, right? First time in 30 years. That would definitely be nice. But I agree with you, Logan, in terms of the standings. I think we're right there with the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are the cream of the crop in the division right now. But I do have us going 9-8. I just think we're gonna lose some games that we should win and potentially win some games that we should lose. But I think it'll just balance itself out and we'll get to 9-8. I think Brian Robinson will get a huge workload this year. That will help. Terry McLaurin, his best quarterback that he's ever had here in DC. I think that will help as well. But I think at the end of the day, 9-8. I think 9-8 is reasonable, especially after the last couple of years. And but I will say Deshaun Watson being out for the Cleveland game might affect things in terms of my record prediction.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I mean, like I said, I think Vegas has them at 7 right now. So again, both of those are optimistic. All three of us are optimistic, and I think I could, if they won 7, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the weird thing about the team right now, right? Is because it's so reliant on Carson and his play, and we've seen the variance in his play. So good Carson, great. If we get like a 10-game stretch of good Carson, I think we're winning a lot of those games. If we get a stretch of bad Carson, it's going to be tough to win some football games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The team's not good enough. So, and I think that's the narrative. That's the whole story to me for the 2022 season is how well does Carson play? It's not the defense. It's not the O-line, not the skill guys. It's Carson, unfortunately. Now, I think the team's done a good job of insulating him and supporting him. But if he plays well, the team plays well. Period, full stop. So everyone says there's this trend. You insulate a quarterback by running the football, and I don't disagree with that. It helps alleviate some of the pressure, no doubt. But 2nd and 10 off of a no play is advantageous for the defense, right? So when you run the football a lot, like Tennessee, Baltimore, 2nd and 3rd down situation, and you're asking him to make more high variance, high risk throws. And so I think even though that appears to be the way to kind of insulate the quarterback, I think there is an advantage to saying we're going to throw the football on 1st down, right? And kind of open our whole offense on him. And then you have a back in the backfield in Robinson who can run the football and get you back on schedule, get you to a 3rd and 6 situation, as opposed to saying we're going to run it 1st down, run it 2nd down. Here's this high variation of 3rd down. And I think they were, I don't remember the exact statistic, but they were top 5, top 7 in the NFL in 3rd to go situations when you're a running team, right? And again, that puts a lot of pressure on Carson. Also, their offensive line was one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in the NFL last year for the first 7 games or 8 games of the season. I think that's a really important variable. Now, that is a quarterback driven statistic largely, right? Because they hold the football long, getting a lot of pressure. But I will say the right tackle, I forget his name, really, really struggled last year. Really struggled. So I think this group is going to be more consistent from a pass protection standpoint. I think you have better skill position players because ultimately, skill position players who can create separation lead to easier throws, right? And Michael Pittman, while a very good receiver, is not a great separator. So I think those elements, again, we're doing football math, right? And football math never equals 1. It always equals something else because there's so many variables. But those are things for fans, I think, to consider when making that comparison, right? I think that's really important for people to understand that, just because they had a better rushing attack, just because of whatever, that doesn't translate necessarily because the NFL is changing, right? And I think that's important for people to be aware of.
Fair, and that's a great way to end this off. Thank you so much, Logan, for your time. We know you're a super busy man. We always love watching you on the Commanders YouTube channel and just on all their accounts and stuff. And yeah, we'd love to, obviously, as we mentioned in our first video with you, we love watching you as a player as well. But is there any last thing you want to say before we sign off?
Oh, just that I really enjoy being on your guys' show. You guys do a great job. And, I have a podcast now. Give that a follow. Take Command Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast. Give me a follow on Instagram, Logan_Paulsen82. Do breakdowns, and a lot of my media content goes on there. You're not going to see any pictures of my kids or anything like that. But yeah, man, if that's it, and appreciate you
Logan.
guys. And
Logan.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. Can you tell Santana Moss I said hi? Just tell him that. That's all I wanted to just tell him.
Dude,
that.
he had people fanboy over that man so hard. Like it's weird because I played with him, so it's just like Santana. But at that training camp, people were going nuts for that man. So I'll tell him you said what's up.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, Logan. Thank you again so much. Thank you everyone for watching, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel. We like to post inspired content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Instagram page, all lowercase DMV Sports Zone, and our TikTok page at DMV Sports Zone as well. And yeah, I think that's it, right, Abdullah?
Yeah,
and
good to go.
We'll see you on the next one. Peace.